Hello and welcome to Modern Toy Fair. NECA, Super7, Loyal Subjects, Hasbro even. All of these companies have one thing in common, and that is Ninja Turtles. And today we're going to ask who makes the best Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle action figures. I am your host, Mr. Modern Toy Fair, and I am joined by the founder of the NECA Illuminati, the delayer of shipments, the procrastinator of pre-orders, the YouTube wife, Mrs. Modern Toy Fair, Jarmar_Games. But that's not all. I am also joined by the man Modern Toy Fair has full custody over. The man Optimus Prime popped and he refuses to stop. The Twilight Knight, the master of Mac, the three-pump chump of taking this show off the road. Rails, not road. Nate.
Oh no! No.
We can do rails, bro.
Sometimes you just wrap yourself around a tree and call it a day.
It's taking us off the roads. That is
off the roads.
Hey, where we're going, we don't need roads.
My man.
Oh
Shit. So we've been talking about this episode for a little while, and it's finally time to do it. So there are some companies that are currently within the past couple of years who are making / have made Ninja Turtle figures or different variations of the Ninja Turtles. There's some companies that have done it in the past and some that claim they're going to do it in the future. So we're going to start with the main five, the ones who've made it within the past 3 years minimum. So we've got NECA, Super7, Loyal Subjects, Playmates, and Hasbro. And Hasbro sneaks in there just because they had the Power Rangers crossover, so they found that little kind of workaround. And I haven't really heard anything since of if they're going to continue that or if it was a one-and-done deal. So we've, most of us have owned a figure from almost every one of these companies. I think the only one Nate probably hasn't owned is probably maybe either Loyal Subjects or Hasbro, because you didn't get the Power Ranger ones, right?
I did not get the Power Ranger ones, no. And I don't have any of the Loyal Subjects turtle figures. But I did see a couple that I liked.
Mm-hmm.
So, if that
have you bought any of the Loyal Subjects? I haven't bought any of their new figure line. I was not impressed when I saw them in person for the most part.
Yeah, I the only one I have bought is I bought Beetlejuice from the cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what happened to Lydia that was supposed to come out. There's supposed to be 2 different Lydias. And those have never come out. So that's the only Loyal Subjects figure like that I own.
Okay. And then Jarmar, I assume you've owned every single one of these lines at some point or another.
Spoilers. If it's an indication to what I'm ranking, or I don't know if a ranking is how we're doing this. Anyways, no, I don't have any of the Loyal Subjects either. I saw them. I was really excited for it. And then I saw them in person and was like,
that is a bad omen for Loyal Subjects.
Now, was that Loyal Subjects? They used to make the little small blind bag.
Yeah, Loyal Subjects did the mystery boxes. Yeah,
those were good.
And then later on, they changed it where instead of paying like $9 for a mystery box, you could pay $15 and just know what the fuck you were getting. Which was real annoying after you spent years, buying those up.
It did cut out the middleman of eBay, though.
It did. I'll give them that. So let's break down the lines before we go through and kind of start arguing about which one is better than the other. So Playmates, first and foremost, they have very. Hold on, I have already messed things up. Why are cameras 2 and 3 not on the screen?
Hey, if you edit this part out, I thought of another company.
I mean, you can say it either way because I'm messing with this. What's the other company?
Oh, okay. DC Collectibles.
Yes, I forgot about them.
I don't know
if Hasbro's in the mix.
It might
but
have
it's been over.
That was 20.
It might be right.
Wasn't that 2019 or 2020?
No, it was before that.
It was when I had moved to Arizona when it happened, so it had to be at least 2019. It was either the summer of 2019 or this 20.
So that would be.
That's 3 years. So yeah, DC Collectibles is in there. All right, so we've got. Great.
On the second list. Or
Let's keep them. We'll put them on the first, or main list, just because the rule was you have to make a figure within the past 3 years, and
but technically, if it was summer of 2019, it's been just over 3 years.
oh,
So you have to throw that.
Was okay.
I know for a fact that'd be at least 2019.
It's
2019.
October 20.
October.
Well, what I see is October 31st. There's an article from the Foosh. So I don't know.
Did it show that they were in, like, they had them in hand at that point, or was it a situation where they got
It was
announced?
a review.
Okay,
a review. Yeah.
Which one was it?
Which one? What do you mean?
Which figure was it? Because there was four.
It was the Donatello and Batgirl 2-pack.
So in theory, it still fits in within the 3 years because they released those scattered. They didn't bring them out all at once.
Okay.
Because the Shredder Ra's al Ghul one came out after all the other ones.
Right.
It didn't sell worth a shit, but it came out after all the other ones.
Yeah. They actually go for decent money now, which is hilarious.
That is hilarious, considering people won't even buy it when it's clearance at fucking GameStop.
Right.
And it makes me sad because I slaughtered that poor Shredder to make a custom City Fall Leonardo. Whoops. So yeah, so we'll start with the OG Playmates. They pretty much have done the same thing for the past several decades, and it's
let's be fair. They did a great job doing the similar things. I wouldn't say same, similar. So every time there was a new media property, starting with, like, they really didn't differentiate media properties until Next Mutation came along.
Mm-hmm.
But then after that, everything that came.
Oh yeah,
they did something for.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, I'm not saying that they. And I was talking more recently that they've done the same thing that they've done for the past several decades.
Right.
But yeah, you're right.
I guess if we're going through the last 3 years, I should listen to our own rules.
Yeah. So if we want to talk about the whole kit and caboodle, yes, they 100% have done a great job in the early days of action figures.
They won
where they did like all sorts of variations of everything, and they kept iterations for each movie, TV show, whatever, even if they didn't always look like the property was supposed to. But they have the older style figures with the limited articulation, where like they did eventually add, I think once they got to the 2012 series, they added the like elbow and knee joints, right? Yeah. But before that, they had just the shoulders and legs would move, and the heads would move. Nothing too crazy. It's what you'd expect back, especially in an 80s and 90s toy line. Moving forward, though, they did eventually get to a point where they tried to do more articulation. They had those. I think they starting off as the movie Turtles, and then they did a variation of it as the I think
it was
Toon Turtles.
I think
or was it vice versa?
First, yeah.
Okay, so Toon Turtles first, and then movie Turtles, and they were on that like taller action figure, like 6 or 7 inches. They basically had Toy Biz Marvel Legends level articulation, fingers, toes, nose, you name it, everything articulated on those figures. They didn't look incredible, but they were still, for the time, great. And then they did the Rise figures when that came out, and then they kind of just let things simmer for a while other companies were doing things, and then they decided to jump on the nostalgia train, and we started getting re-release after re-release of all of the old carded figures, whether it was individually in stores or if it's now in these fancy box sets that are like $100 at Walmart. And now they're into the game of reusing the parts from those overly articulated turtles to do crossovers with Street Fighter, Cobra Kai, Stranger Things, and any property that will throw them a license. They will put these turtles with a slightly different paint job in there with them, which is good.
Yeah, it was really weird. I don't know if you guys saw the new one, The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
I knew it was a joke. I knew.
I was like, there isn't a new one, but I was waiting to see where it was going.
Yeah,
I love it. I mean, I 100% bet that's coming 2025. But yeah, so they've they haven't really done anything new recently. Granted, I mean, if you look at other toy companies like Hasbro, Marvel Legends, and Star Wars Black Series, reuse is a thing. So fair game. They are making new figures of the turtles using old molds and then throwing all that money to make action figures of the characters from those other properties, which if you're a fan of those properties and you want some representation and some of them don't have other options, great. This is good for you. Moving on from then you have the probably the biggest name in Turtles in that right now, and that's NECA. They, started off years ago doing the Mirage Turtles, and those were, well articulated.
Years ago.
Yeah, we're years. Like Toys R Us was still around when those came out.
Big time.
And those were well sought after. They looked great. They had pretty good articulation. I mean, it was like NECA articulation, so it was a little stiff, but you just had to be careful. And they moved from there to eventually getting to do con exclusives of the Toon Turtles, and that kind of evolved into what it is today, where they're running out of characters to do, so they're doing random street thugs to be able to make sure they have action figures on the shelves. They did the movie Turtles, which also started off as a con exclusive line and has spilled into a peg warmer at Walmart of Shredder and Human Splinter, and then the Foot Soldier 2-pack. They've done a bunch of variations of what's his name? Super Shredder. They're moving on to Secret of the Ooze, and probably going to have to deep dive into characters from that. Trying to think, they're going back to the comic books now. They've done an arcade line, and all these figures look incredible. They articulate great. They do have the standard NECA problem, where if it's not a human character, the joints are a little stiff and you have to heat them up or just be very careful. I haven't really seen too many stories of people, having them break easily or anything, but it is, just one of those things like, I can't get his knees to bend and I don't want to do anything and have his leg snap off.
Right.
From there, some newcomers would be Super7, who kind of came out of the gates swinging. They decided to take nostalgia and current day action figures and mash them together. So we got the Playmates looking and stylistic choices, Turtles mixed in with current day articulation and accessories and alternate heads that didn't look like the old heads. So if you wanted a new action figure of the Turtles, you had it, or if you wanted a better version of the toy you had as a kid, you have it, which gave people a lot of options. It even included fully painted accessories, or you could take and cut them out of the rack like you did when you were a kid. And the boxes looked incredible. They had some early woes because they were a relatively new company to the scene, so they couldn't just pre-orders and then 3 to 6 months later you have the figures. They had to do made to order, so you had to order them and then wait a year for them to ship, and they ran into delays, which kind of hurt the faith in the community.
I would say.
And they were still doing strong by the time they got all 4 Turtles out and a bunch of the villains, but by wave 5 the fan base had kind of dwindled on it. We did mention while I was having technical difficulties, because while I checked all the audio settings, I didn't check the cameras for our second view here. And that's DC Collectibles, who had a very quick and short run because they did the Batman Turtles crossover comics, which then turned into an animated movie, which got them the toys. And the toys were great. Like they had decent articulation. They looked cool. They looked like they came from that movie, which was great. The accessories were awesome. They got us a few characters I didn't expect to get, like a fucking Alfred out of nowhere. I can't even get an Alfred figure from a normal DC line. It took a Ninja Turtles line to get me an Alfred figure. Like, come on now. I mean, yes, Mattel did one at one point, but still, that's okay. It's 2 Alfreds in the past 5 to 10 years that weren't statues.
Yeah, and then DC Collectibles made the Batman the Animated Series that you could only get
with the back
in the $250 back end.
So it was a pretty cool set, and the Turtles were very stylistic in that, because they were kind of like why you like Rise. They were different shades, different sizes. You could tell that each one was different from the other, even without having the purple, red, orange, blue masks. And I really liked the way those looked. Unfortunately, I wasn't a fan of the only one I didn't like was my favorite turtle, which was Donnie, and that's because they gave him this fucking egg head, and it bothered me. I'm like, that. I'm not gonna get into that. We'll wait until we start discussing which one's better. But yes, each one came in a 2-pack with another character, which was like Batman, Robin, Batgirl, Alfred, and then they did Shredder with Ra's al Ghul. Those came out. We just figured out 2019, so they just under the radar made it into our 3-year roll. And before anyone comments, well, comment anyway because it helps the algorithm. But before anyone comments, oh, that's 4 years. As we discussed, the Shredder pack came out last, which would probably have been 3 years, cut off right here.
Still counts.
It still counts. If it doesn't, we're counting it anyway. If other people can break their rules while they're making lists, so can we. It's a throwback to an episode from when we first came back from our little hiatus.
I was confused.
Yeah. And we're back after some technical difficulties. Clearly, Neca is not happy about this topic. As you can see, that Neca Illuminati has now joined me. For whatever reason, midway through that last sentence, my computer decided to freeze and my screen went black. Could still hear everything, but couldn't do anything. That we talked about what was NECA, Playmates, Super7, DC Collectibles. So there's 2 more. Hasbro also had a brief run-in last year or this year, one of the 2. I can't remember. It all blends together with the Power Rangers crossover. A lot of crossovers get these turtles made. And those were the turtles in the Power Ranger costumes. They'd have unmasked heads, which were okay. They came with all of the different power, I guess, not really Power Rangers.
Lightning.
Yeah, they came with the effects, but I was because they came in 2 packs. So you got like Raph and Leo, right? No, Donnie and Leo, Raph and Tommy as a Foot Ninja, and then Mikey and Pink Ranger April, and then they did Shredder as the Green Ranger separately. And these had all of the great articulation of the Lightning collection. The figures looked good. There wasn't really anything too crazy outlandish to be upset about. The final company that has really most recently done turtles is Loyal Subjects. They years ago did, I believe, as we discussed, the little blind boxes that you'd pay $10 and you'd get a little big-headed turtle character, and they were cool, but they were what they were. They were like 3 or 4 inches tall and didn't really have any crazy articulation, but they did come with their accessories, which was nice. Mm-hmm. But now they're actually doing 5-inch, or are they 4-inch action figures? I know they're short.
They're 5.
Are they 5? Okay, we'll say 5. If we're wrong, correct us in the comments. They're doing 5-inch action figures. They did the initial run of the turtles in their not the Toon colors, but in the marketing colors for the Toon Turtles, where they're the bright green and they all have their brightly colored masks. Mm-hmm. Some people love them, some people don't. They do have articulation, accessories, all that fun stuff. They have already started reusing those sculpts quite a bit by making variations in black and white and in mirage colors, and I think they even started doing arcade. Pretty much trying to catch up to anything NECA's done. And now they've moved on
quickly too.
Yeah, very quickly, within 6 months' time, if that. And now they have moved on to surpassing NECA with doing the street clothes turtles, which everyone is absolutely loving. And they, like I said, some people love them, some people hate them, but it seems to be doing well enough that they can release these figures so quickly that people don't mind. So those are the big, 6, I think is what we came up with then, because we had DC.
Yeah.
So those are the big 6 that have recently made turtle figures within the last 3-ish years. So let's start with those. Out of those figures, which one would you say is your definitive, this is the best turtle line for me, and which one are you I didn't need that to get made?
Yeah.
I'm gonna defer to.
I guess there we go. All right. Well,
then you both tried to pass the fucking.
Because it is hard to say definitive turtle line. Obviously,
if you only could have one of these, which one?
One manufacturer.
Yeah, if only one of them, you were only allowed. Your wife came down, she's like, you know what, you got too much turtle shit. Fucking pick a company and stick to it, and everything else has to go. Which one would you pick?
Well, the funny thing is, if she was to say that,
wife.
I was gonna say, if I chose NECA, it would still be like 6 lines in itself. So jokes on her.
I mean, same thing with
No, I would.
Playmates though, because Playmates is also 6 lines in...
Well, as we all know, I never mind. I don't want to like push it. Anyways, I would say obviously NECA would be the definitive, just because as far as cost to like value, they are making like just probably the best turtle representation flat out, because of if you factor in like I'm thinking cost and the quality of the figure, you're kind of like right there. Sure, the price is going up a couple bucks, but you're still at that like still reasonably priced and not high end like import type thing. And they are covering every single base that you possibly could want. If you missed out on it, then it's gonna hurt a little bit. But like I have gotten some of the things that I've always thought like, oh, this would be cool if this was a figure. And hey, here we go. I la the tour turtle figures. Mutagen tour. Why can't I say the word
Wow,
tour?
you are struggling with that. Yeah.
Tour. Anyways, yeah.
Tour.
So getting those figures is like a cool thing, and obviously like disguise turtles and stuff like that. So NECA has been like consistently giving us what we want for the past 3 years or whatnot. Now, have they gotten to a point where they are like running out? Maybe. That's like giving me a little too much, but it's still definitively the best line. I don't know if you want me to stop at just saying that's the best line.
I mean, I also asked what we think would be like if there was one line that you just absolutely don't need out of those
Yeah.
6.
If I had to knock someone off, ooh, that's rough, because I don't want like anyone to not make turtle toys. I want every company to make turtle toys, just because
well, you really want to get divorced, don't you?
No, I mean, I don't necessarily have to buy all of them. That's what I'm getting to.
Oh,
so
okay.
like if I had to knock off one, as much as it hurts me, loyal subjects, the small blind box ones were some of my favorite things that I have. Turtle related, because they were very distinct in a style of like what they were looking for. They were like brooding, not they were kind of like, these are cool turtles, and they had like all like a very aggressive face and things like that, and they just looked cool. They basically stripped that all away by making these new ones. So I think that's why I don't have that appeal. For me, as a very large turtle collector, I need it to be unique and different, which is why I like the DC Collectibles, why I like the Hasbro, pretty much why I like all of these other companies outside of like Playmates, is because they're just taking chances on what they can do with the turtles, probably because of, licensing things like, hey, you can do this, but it can't look like these. Cool. So you get fun stuff. But that's the only one line that I would say, like, geez, what happened? Like, all the life just gone out of their designs to make these turtles. And it's completely unnecessary, in my opinion. But hey, if you like them, that's cool. Just for me, who has, like, I have multiple lines. I just have to, it has to be unique and different for me to want to buy that, unless it's Ninja. But we didn't add that to the list.
That was in the honorable mentions we were going to discuss.
Yeah, okay.
That was going to be at the end with like future/past brands who've done it. So I do have one argument against this, because you mentioned as far as value per cost, but you didn't really seem super interested in loyal subjects, who are probably the least expensive of all of these.
Well,
and have decent articulation and a lot of different variations of just the turtles. So if you're a completist, there's not as much bloat as there is with the NECA line. So I'm surprised those weren't even considered.
You threw a couple things in there. So when I say value, I don't mean like inexpensive. Value means like
I'm saying like,
you know what I mean.
The figure's worth it versus how much the cost is. The value of it.
So if I'm spending, those are like what, 15?
Mm-hmm.
Or those are like 15, 20?
I think they're 15.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but last I saw they were 15.
Okay, that's fair. So that is like basically less than half the cost of like just one. Well, you can't get really one turtle from NECA at this point in time, depending on what you're buying. But
well, I mean, technically, one turtle, the Ronin figure is $37.
Oh,
and so is Slash. So one turtle would be almost $50.
Slash is not a turtle.
That's true.
But
he is a turtle.
I'm just saying. You get what I'm saying.
The 2-packs are generally $50. 50
yes, but yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm trying to say. More of like just taking turtle to turtle, because those are like, I don't want to say specialty in their line, but those are something different. Like,
I mean, they're supposed to be considered
monster.
ultimate. Like, they're supposed to be like
things, ultimate. That's the word I'm looking
which for the Ronin, 100% true. He was stacked with accessories. Slash, we paid the thick boy tax. That's fair.
But that's also what I mean too. Is I may be overjudging these figures, but what I think of value, I think of like substantial, like weight and feel. Like it feels like a $30, $40 figure. You know what I mean? You have the articulation, sometimes a little tight, but it feels hefty when you're holding it. It doesn't feel like something that will sit on the shelf and maybe rot, or like you go to touch it in a year and it just snaps or something like that, which probably happens. But that's what I kind of would say. I'm not necessarily looking for just the most inexpensive turtle, because one company we haven't mentioned, McFarlane, maybe they'll make turtles someday.
God help us if they do.
I know.
Those faces will look like every single stunt double that's ever been in a turtle movie.
No, you know, it'll be perfect if they do the ice cream thing, and that's just because that's what the turtles will look like.
Because those look all melty and derpy with one lazy eye. Before I continue to fight Jarmar on things just for the sake of fighting Jarmar, Nate, I want to know what your thoughts are.
Well, I am acting of my own accord, and I say that NECA makes the best turtles.
Listen, I was the only one whose computer crashed, so I mean, realistically,
I'm gonna take off the tinfoil hat for a second. No, so it gets convoluted because it's funny. 2 years ago or 3 years ago or whenever it was, I thought I was going to be all in on Super 7. Like, Super 7 announced their stuff, and I was like, yes, they had just finished up their Motu Classics. I thought this was going to be more like Turtle Classics and take different ideas from the original toy lines and kind of meld it and make it its own thing. By the time they started hitting the first wave, maybe the second wave, I realized they're not going to make it their own. They're just going to make the Playmates toys bigger. And I very quickly lost all interest in any of that. So to say now, it's clearly NECA. And the funny thing about it is I have my favorites within what NECA does, as well as what I think is the best and what I think I can't live without, which are all different. And then there's even ones within NECA that I don't need. You know, that's the thing. Like, we are so hashtag blessed, I guess, is what we should say here about where we stand as far as being a turtle fan and having action figures, because the Toon line is one of the best lines out there. Like, character choices, designs, not an overabundance of turtle releases, but turtle releases that make sense. You had your original, you had your style guide colors, you had your disguise turtles, and then another release of the style guide. So they found interesting and new, unique ways to get those all out there, but still padding the ranks of all of these secondary characters and amazing accessories that came with them that weren't always necessarily character specific, but were episode specific or story specific, which was amazing. That takes me back to Masters of the Universe Classics, when they used to throw, when Mattel would put in just different accessories in there for other characters, or just, animated series appearances and things like that. And I think that's amazing. It's hands down my favorite turtle line that they do within NECA. However, you kind of also said, what would be the ones that you couldn't live without, or you never thought you'd have? And that's clearly the movie ones. I'm old enough that, I was like 10 years old when that original 1990 movie came out. Well, I guess I would have been almost 12. But that movie just, as a kid that was into turtles in 1990, it was just everything a young boy would want it to be, or a young girl. It was dark. It was violent. It didn't pull punches, figuratively or, literally. It was just great, and it was fun and funny, and we didn't have toys of those. you know, when we got out of the theater, we had, you know, it's like that joke, you know, you've got Ninja Turtles at home, but my Ninja Turtles don't look like the ones that were in the movie. You know, even the ones that came out after Secret of the Ooze, they all look like they had some sort of weird turtle disease. They had these big splotches on them. They didn't look right. So to have those movie figures in hand, they're so amazing. They look, I mean, because I had the quarter scale first, because I was that big of a fan. It was the first thing that they offered from the movie. I still have those 4 turtles as quarter scales. The detail are incredible. Like, they look like they stepped off the screen. I mean, they're just immaculate. And I'm not really understanding why, as the years progressed, those costumes got worse and worse. But I still think you could put those old costumes in a movie and it would still be just as entertaining today. Maybe I'm hoping that's just not my old manness there. Well, like, they should make them like they used to.
Clearly, they aren't afraid of doing that. Because if we watch the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special trailer, I'm 99% sure, for the most part, Groot is a dude in a costume.
You might be correct on that, and that would be the way to go to save money for something like that.
Yeah.
And,
so if you ever want to do that for that, why can't you do that elsewhere with like a movie and save the money and then invest it in the storytelling and in making everything else look great?
Yeah. I hope, you know, even though the movies kind of, you know, went down, I hope NECA keeps going. You know, they're offering the Secret of the Ooze turtles. I want Turtles 3 turtles. Like, I want them in those giant, you know, samurai outfits and stuff. Like, we're then give me Next Mutation NECA figures. Give me,
I don't want to hear it, Jarmar. You're gonna sit here and you're gonna rub your nipples about these Next Mutation turtles, and then you're not gonna pre-order them when they fucking come up.
I 100%
will. Bullshit.
You
wished that news set into existence and then did not pre-order it and relied on the luck that Chuck didn't want his.
Well, that was $200 and not included a turtle.
If we were to ask me now, which ones do I not need? There's a lot of those that I don't collect, like the Power Ranger ones and the Loyal Subject ones. But I'm gonna goose some gears here. It's Super7 at this point. They're to me, it's irrelevant.
Yeah.
Unless you just really want those older figures, but with the exception of like Scratch and Half Court or something like that, you can get complete vintage turtles for way less than $55 a piece, and all you're getting is a bigger one. So, but that's me. That's my opinion. You can fight me. That's okay. I'll just cover up and take it because that's only my opinion.
Yeah. I didn't
fight
mention
you in the comments. Come at me.
Okay.
I didn't really go so much into Super7 on my like ineloquent attempt to say tour. But
you also never told us which one you could live without before I got tired.
I guess I thought of that differently. I thought like I could live without it in my life. So
you could live without it.
Yeah, that's I guess what I was thinking. Like
I figured you meant you couldn't live without that.
Oh, okay. No. I'm saying I could live without this. I need to rephrase the question. I'm talking about like which other company you could live without, because I don't give a shit if you want the NECA turtles. I don't give a shit what turtles you don't want from the NECA line. I want to know what other line you'd be like that could not exist, and I'd just be fine with it. Oh, that's what I said.
You said the mutagen turtles, which are part of NECA, which is your favorite.
Wait.
No. That's not what he said.
Wait, I'm confused.
You're not listening to me, sir.
Listen, we had a lot of technical problems. There was a whole thing.
I could live without the I forgot the name already. The loyal
subjects. Okay.
So loyal subjects could never exist, and I'd be like, all right. That's
sorry, cool. I got distracted because then I tried to argue with you and say that like,
there you go.
They're the least expensive, so you're getting the most bang for your buck.
To argue with
I gotta do something to keep the fucking numbers up. If it's all just sunshine and rainbows, ain't no one gonna watch us.
NFTs would be the best rendition. No,
NECA, please cut my power now.
I was with you like Nate as well, of like, man, I love these Super7 figures, and this was kind of like my dream of having like new versions of the Playmate figures. But then I realized what you just said of like, okay, are these that much better than the ones that I already have on my shelf right now? Is it worth me spending $50 for each one? Because now they're like 50, like legitimately
They're
$50.
55, yeah.
Yeah, so like it's kind of not worth it to the point where also the amount of delays and how long I had to wait, it basically made that decision easy to just be like, no. Now I'm happy to have like the four turtles. Um,
I kept the original 10, like the original Playmates
oh,
10.
like the full line, yeah. That's all
Yeah,
I
that's
went
what I
with,
kept.
just the turtles, and I'm happy for it. And then if there is some things that pop up that I see that I'm like, oh man, they're making this version of like one of my favorite like Playmate figures, that would be awesome. But until then, I'm kind of like cooled off on there. But I just wanted to say Super 7, and I just wanted to say the word Super 7.
Do they pay you every time you say their name?
No, NECA does. I mean, they
Oh.
don't. I'm sorry. Let me put the hat back on. No.
uh, so yeah, I can agree. I will say 6 months ago, I probably would have had a hard time with this decision
Mm,
because I kind of just got tired of the NECA train with the
fair.
because up until that point we were promised that they were to come back to the Mirage line and comic line in general, and they kind
It's
of just
coming.
they didn't really show us anything for a while, and then they finally did, and that kind of won me back. Uh, I, I honestly, if it wasn't for the fact that they're doing these comic lines, I probably would just have like a set of custom turtles or something, or wait for one of the honorable mentions to come and do something for me because I really love the movie line. Fantastic, they look great. The tune line, fantastic, they look great. I loved it when I collected them, but at the end of the day, like my turtles are comic book turtles. I want the turtles, that are funny but violent, like Nate wants from his movies, but I want them to be a little more ninja like. I want them to have, the extra wraps and the alternative options for weapons and stuff, not just, what we see on TV and movies. So
You want ninja in your turtles.
I
I
want ninja
understand.
in my turtles, yes. But they have to be at least 18 for that to be okay. Um,
Wait, I don't even know what's ninja then. I, I'm confused on what actually ninja is.
uh,
Maybe I love that.
but yeah, so I do agree with you guys. As of right now, I do feel like NECA is king. I don't think there's
Mm,
anyone out there who can hold a candle to him. I think if Hasbro gave it a real college try, I think they could probably give them a run for their money, at least in
mm-hmm,
quality, not necessarily in the range of diversity, because
mm-hmm.
NECA has 20 different fucking lines that are 100 figures deep, so you can't compete with that in general. But if we're competing with like release versus release, then I think they'd be able to give it a fighting chance. You're telling me that
I
if
don't know.
Hasbro came out with an
I
IDW
don't.
line that was highly articulated
Okay.
like those Power Ranger ones, you wouldn't be like, okay, this is, and they'd also be $30 instead of 40.
Yeah,
Like,
you have me there value wise would probably
mm-hmm.
be the case, but I don't ever look at Marvel Legends and think like, man, these are like
Yeah, Joe, don't me
these
wrong.
are
The
it.
Marvel Legend line is definitely not my definitive Marvel line. By no means, just like McFarlane will never be my definitive DC line. But I'm just saying, as an alternative, because they're both at retail, you
Yeah,
could
yeah,
you
that's
could
fair.
have arguments of one way or another if Hasbro actually like did it.
Yeah.
Playmates, I have no interest in. I'm sorry, just
All
not
right.
for me. I will say I am surprised because Jarmar has been more excited about the Playmates Last Ronin than the NECA Last Ronin for the past like 6 months.
So and I just a quick aside on this. I just wanted to be known that like the reason I'm excited about the last Ronin is because this is a new sculpt. Can we get more from Playmates? Because it's nostalgic. Maybe not so much for you, but like having that tiny figure with limited articulation and like new designs would be like a lot for me, just
Mm-hmm.
because it is like I don't know, it's more a nostalgia factor. Of course, like it's not gonna look super badass and do reviews on, but it's just kind of like right there. So that's why I'm excited for it, which is why Playmates will never not be. on my list. But
See, originally this episode was going to be me trying to convince Jarmar to tell us why Playmates is better than NECA, but I couldn't get him to do it. Even in kayfabe, he refused.
That's because we only did the 3. We did the 3 years. I was fully intended to come in here and say NECA is the GOAT, or not NECA, but Playmate is the GOAT.
All right, we're gonna do another episode then at some point where it's gonna be we're gonna let this one simmer and
all time,
and then we'll do all time, and you can you can go on your Playmates rant. We don't have a whole lot of time left, so I'm going to throw out my worst, or my one I could live out with. I agree with Nate. Super7. I fell in love with them early on because they had the alternative heads that resembled a little bit of what we've seen in the comics, and I had customized mine and was pretty happy with them. But prices have gone up, and they went from trying to give you options to not to just be Playmates to just saying fuck it and doing better versions of Playmates figures, and it just for $55 a piece. So I was like, well, I already don't give a shit about Playmates, so why the fuck would I want to pay you more for them? Let's get into the honorable mentions, though. These ones are companies that either have done turtle figures or claim they are going to do turtle figures in the future. So previously, we had some of the more higher-end lines do them, such as SH Figure Arts, Revoltech, Mondo did the larger turtles. There is another company that did some 1/6 scale, like really cool looking ones. I can't remember who it is. Maybe it's like 3-0 or something like that. But most recently, Mezco has announced and teased that they are trying to do turtle figures. I mean, it's license pending, but they showed off what looks like their version of the old Mirage turtles, which tugs on my heartstrings a little bit there. Despite the fact
your comic wiener,
my comic wiener. Even though me and Mez haven't had a loving relationship in recent months, so I guess my question is, if any of these companies were still in the game, they were still actively making figures for turtles, would they knock NECA off to be, or in this case Mezco, with what they teased, would they knock NECA off as the king of the mountain?
Yeah, Nate shaking his head. I'm with you solely. I don't know if this is the same reason, but I look at those like lines like that, like Mezco and Revoltech and whoever else is gonna make SH Figure Arts. I look at those as give me the 4 turtles and then I'm out. Like, I don't need you to make anything more, because the only thing you're bringing is your unique style to the turtles.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need your unique style of like, the lady with the red hair and the tank top. I don't need that. I don't need that at all. So like,
April O'Neil.
No, he's talking about Rennet.
No. I'm talking about the
you're talking about the street, the lady from. Wow.
I don't know if that's her name. We've just, I think, dubbed her as Patty, but she has like the red hair and then
the lady who
the tank top,
who's in the gang with Rocksteady and Bebop before they get mutated.
Right. So I don't need that.
But we're not talking about deep dives. Like, what if you just got like the core turtles and some core villains in Splinter? So you get Shredder, Rocksteady, Bebop, Krang, and Splinter. So you have
stands.
Really?
Still stands to me, because I don't get me wrong. I love those. Revoltech's probably one of my favorite turtles that I own, flat out, because I love the 2012 series.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's such a high regards, and please let them make a Rise of the Turtle. Oh my god, that would be amazing. But I just want their input or their style and their design for the 4 turtles, and then that's it. The reason why I think I have this affinity with NECA is because I get all that extra stuff from them, from the extra characters and things like that. And I'd rather just have theirs because it fits with everything else that I already have. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That may not be the same reason for either one of you guys, but
I mean, it's similar. I would say out of those ones that you mentioned, my favorite ones are clearly those Revoltech ones. But the thing is with those is it's because it's the only truly great representation of the 2012 series.
Mm-hmm.
Revoltech are frustrating.
Yes.
As figures, because they are very unique. They have to be posed a certain way. I don't mean to fluff myself. I'm a decent poser. And I really got those figures into some great some great poses,
Ooh.
but it takes a while. Oh, it does.
Keep going.
I
Oh,
really,
man, you
I
please say
really
more.
worked them up. I worked them up. I got them in positions that you would not believe. You would not think that regular would be able to hold them in place. The way I just kept working them, though, because that's what you got to do. You just got to keep working it.
No, you're right. You're right.
But
you're right.
You don't want to go too hard, or you'll break them.
Yeah.
Exactly. You got to give it the right amount of like toughness, but still be soft enough so you don't break anything, but also keep up that rhythm. But the other point that I was trying to make is like if NECA brought out 2012 figures, I would be really, really excited.
Yeah.
God,
you know,
yes.
I would not necessarily want more Reveltech figures. You know what I'm saying? Like I want those. Let's make an exchange. I'd rather have those 2012 figures in another company. I am curious to see what Mezco does, because they always do a Mezcoification of it. Whether or not we'll ever see them at this point, it's tough to say. And like with figure arts, you know, those figures got done by NECA, I think, but better, except they weren't as posable. That's the thing figure arts is going to have above everything else. They're just more posable. But they were also more the style guide and not representative of the cartoonists I would like them.
I guess in theory, let's say that they continued their lines, but they weren't stuck in those specific versions of the Turtles. So they moved on, did other things. Like you got movie Turtles from SH Figure Arts.
Yeah, that's still my point. You know, Reveltech is frustrating. SH Figure Arts, beautiful, wonderful, expensive. I only have room in my life for one figure arts line, and honestly, as I look over at the boxes, it's questionable whether or not I have room for it in this life for that. So no, NECA has been able to, for whatever reason, and I hate to heap this much praise because it does sound like we're shilling and we're not.
Which is funny because we used to have an entire segment of NECA hate.
Yeah,
I still hate them.
For what you get for the price, they still hold it above everybody else. And value doesn't necessarily dictate cheap or whatever, but it's just what you're getting for what you're spending.
Yeah.
You can't take that away from them.
It feels justified. It feels justified for the price that you
even
spend.
Those,
you feel justified.
Yeah. Even the $40, Universal Monster ones, which are not my thing, I see the value in them. They're great. They're unique.
I'd spend $50. I'm not even joking.
Yeah.
Don't say that. They'll do it.
I know.
But unlike what Super7 is doing, like this is not those old figures. These are completely new. They're creative. Whether or not you could argue that some of them don't necessarily work, like April as the Bride. I don't really like that one, but I do think that they do a great job with those, and I think that no one else can touch them, and I think that's part of the problem with all these companies because they're still trying to chase after that, and most turtle collectors, whether they want to admit it or not, are pretty entrenched in the NECA line for the most part, some way or another. Even you, who has gotten out of most of it, keeps getting pulled back.
Yeah, this is very true. There's one other line that I forgot, even though we talked about earlier. Jarmar's favorite, Nendoroids, is doing Turtles. They are those merchandise style guide versions. And they are just like chibi versions of them with big heads, but they still look like they're supposed to. But I'm torn because I feel like in an alternate universe, Figure Arts would have a really cool Ninja Turtle line, and they would, start making those characters that we might not get in different variations. Like I'd love to get an IDW version of Rocksteady and Bebop where they're like big and beefy, and I don't see NECA doing it. I'd love them to, but I don't know if they're gonna go that far with the IDW stuff, at least not for a while, because they haven't even given us any inkling that they're gonna do anything IDW outside of Last Ronin right now. So.
That's fair.
I will say though, just the Last Ronin alone has kind of won me over with them to where, again, if I had to choose one, it would be that. Just because I loved that story and that figure. We'll talk about that more here in about a month and a half. Is a runner for Figure of the Year in my book. Like it's incredible. They nailed it, and it came with crap ton of accessories, and I'm super happy with how it turned out. So I do feel like, yeah, even if any of those other companies made figures or do ship the figures they claim they're going to make, I don't think that they're going to be able to do much to take the crown or even come close to touching the crown. They might be able to kiss the ring, but that's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But let us know in the comments below who is your current definitive Ninja Turtle line. Are you a NECA guy? Are you a Loyal Subjects, Playmates, or are you holding out and hoping that Mez actually, makes good on his promise, makes some turtles, and actually ships them in the next decade? Let us know in the comments below. As always, please make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, despite all the technical difficulties we've had from start to finish. Follow us. No, that's not technical difficulty. That's just literacy.
I thought you just said tentacle difficulty.
Ooh. I mean, we were getting there with how you were talking about posing them. We already did like and subscribe. Follow us Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Modern Toy Fair. Check us out twitch.tv /Modern Toy Fair every Wednesday night, 10 p.m. ish Eastern time, where we go over our weekly purchases on OnlyFigs. Check out Jarmar at metal.tv /Jarmar Games, where he posts clips where he gets fucked over in Apex. Nate, what do you got for us this week?
We got this whole new thing. It is called Step Family Posing. And we just get together with the step kids and the stepmoms and the stepdads, and we pose figures the way that nature intended.
That's the one. That's the one that gets us canceled. That's the one. But it is family fun, so that's all you can ask for.
Family friendly.
Hey, if you take it in any wrong way, I don't know what to tell you.
Oh god. Well, assuming you aren't gonna fucking make a tweet about us, make sure to check one of the videos below. We've got this week's review. Plus, I did a Let's Pose of the retro Marvel Legends animated Spider-Man, so check those out. But hopefully we'll see you next week. Same toy time, same Toy Fair channel. Thank you for watching.